wanted to own it, just wanted to take the time, learn all the things that I could about you. Now it's such a mess here, oh, we are just stressed here. Used to be so easy with you.
Welcome to Everything Sparkle. With us, we got Jim Tuck. Jim, how are you today?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Just came in out of the heat and it's nice and cool in here, and I've got some nice Starbucks iced tea, so I'm ready to go.
Nice. This heat, oh my.
A little warm out there, not as bad as the last few days.
You know you're in the Central Valley when you feel the heat, right?
That's right, yep.
Okay, so give us a little bit of background about what you are doing and what you do in general and how you got involved in this issue.
So initially, somebody posted, a guy by the name of Jamie Nelson posted on our Facebook page for the alumni page of Fresno High Warriors. Wouldn't it be nice to basically, have some social justice and get rid of the Native American image? Of course, most of the members on there, there's 2,700 members on that page. There's about 500 that are actually active. And so,
what organization did you say?
That's the actual Fresno High Association alumni page. So
okay.
He entered that page, although he went to Bullard and started talking to us about wanting us to take a vote and wanting us to get rid of our warrior image. And so, of course, we said, no, we didn't want that. And for a multitude of reasons, and that reason has evolved after we've learned quite a bit. So he came
wow. Are they targeting everyone? Because I know my mom went to Sanger and they have the Sanger Apaches. And is this something that they're targeting all schools with Native American imagery, or just you?
Not just Native American imagery. That's the start. Fresno High is the 800-pound gorilla. So if they could take it down, that's a 131 old tradition of the American or the Native American image there. And it is the first high school. It's the most known image in the Valley. And so if you can take it down to start with, then you can easily get the Sanger Apaches and some of the middle schools. But the Roosevelt Rough Riders, McLean Highlanders, they're all on the chopping block as well. This is going to be a citywide event that they're going to go after one school after the other.
So are they trying to say that this is a racist thing to use that? Is that where they're going with that? What's their stance of why they want you to get rid of it? And what's your guys' stance on why you guys shouldn't get rid of it? I want to hear the side.
So they came forward, they put a petition forward that we've had reviewed by NAGA, which is Native American Guardians Association. They said that basically nothing in the petition was truthful. So they got around 10,000 people to sign it. But it basically says that, white people or non-natives consider Native Americans savages, and to this day, and a lot of mistruths. They basically, in the Declaration of Independence, it says merciless savages were there at the event when the Declaration of Independence was signed. Well, if you know history, you know that the Iroquois nation was there, and they did sign the Declaration of Independence along with everybody else. And so they've taken that one word, merciless savages, out, and they posted it to all the Native American children and youth in this area. And they said, see, they think we're merciless savages. What that really meant back in 1775 is any non-Christians, no matter what background you came from, if you were a non-Christian, you were a merciless savage.
So if you were white or you were Jewish, you're a merciless savage.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And so basically, because it was, the new Americas, and that's just the mantra they ran, and that's what that verbiage meant. There was many different languages in America at that time, including French, and that is from a French translation. Merciless savages meant non-Christians. So they've basically, the small group of people in this town, it's about 3% of the Native Americans nationally. So we assume it's about the same here. They're going for this cancel culture movement. It's a very vocal 3% of Native Americans. Washington Post just came out with a study in 2017. They went around to reservations and they basically asked, are you opposed to high schools, colleges, and professional sports teams using your images? And it came back 91%. And I can forward that study to you if you'd like to look at it. 91% were not offended and did not oppose it, while 3% did oppose it. So furthermore, we're still looking for that one Native American reservation school that's not using a Native American image as their mascot.
So when this happens, what kind of work goes into it? Somebody's like, I don't like this. I want to fight for this. Somebody like you says, no, we're going to do it this way. And does this use taxpayers' money? What happens? Tell us the process.
So each school is about $500,000 to rebrand. That does not include uniforms and things like that. I have a list I can send to you that is basically just crazy. It's $15,000 for a wrestling mat, $30,000 to move a piece of rock, things like that. And so it's really just money that's a one-time expenditure that's gone. And that money.
And it is our taxpayers' money that would do that, right?
100%. Absolutely. Absolutely. So basically, what they're going to do is they're going to spend about $456,000 to start with. I have the master list, and then they're going to get about another $200,000 right off the bat to do all the uniforms, football helmets, things like that. And so they did not put that on the list because basically those are things they change every 2 to 3 years anyway, which is really a deceiving amount of money. So they knew what they were doing, but that's how they chose to do it.
And then do you guys go to court? I'm just trying to figure out the whole process of how it works, how long it takes, and what needs to be done. Right.
So basically, FUSD came forward. They said, we want to change the logo. We want to develop a committee. They posted, Carol Mills posted on our Facebook page, is there anybody that would like to volunteer that's Native American? Well, immediately they filled a position with 3 Native Americans that were for change. So their board was skewed for change to begin with. Then they met personally with the petitioner, whose name is Jamie Nelson, while they ignored us, ignored our emails, did not answer our emails, and basically did not allow us to meet with them. So they had an open format where people could talk, kind of a town hall, and they gave them about 4 minutes to talk and gave us 4 minutes to talk. They had a very well constructed ground game. Meanwhile, we didn't really realize what was going on. So they'd already been negotiating this thing out for several months prior to having their first town hall. If they call them listening sessions. So on the second listening session, it was pretty much the same thing. And then they had a third event where they basically just took a vote. They gave us 3 days to prepare for that. And, a decision of this magnitude really takes more than an hour total of time. And during COVID. So during COVID, they basically pushed this through starting in June. The first thing they did was they put out a calendar. In that calendar, they said, we will not take a vote until school is back in session. So when they took a vote December 9th, school was not back in session. That's the first Brown Act violation, therefore the lawsuit. Then they said the fiscal impact would be 0. So if you oppose this, it doesn't cost you anything to oppose it. If you're for it and you want the Native American image gone, it doesn't cost you anything as a taxpayer.
And that wasn't true.
Then they came forward in June of this year and said, no, it's $456,000. And that's the second Brown Act violation. So we notified them. Now we found about 10 Brown Act violations. Those are 2 major ones. And so we notified them that they broke that they violated the act. And they said, if we violated the act, that we will rescind the vote. That was Valerie Davis, the president of the FUSD Board of Trustees. So they did not rescind it. So we filed suit. And they announced again that they would rescind the vote if they violated the Brown Act. So once we showed them that they violated the act, their team of 200 attorneys said, well, you're right. You got a point. However, you waited 2 weeks too long to notify us because there's a statute of limitations tied to the Brown Act notifications. Now, if I was in a car accident and it was 1 year and I went 1 year and 2 weeks too long, I can understand that. But these are elected officials that have been picked by us and voted on by us to do the right thing, to have transparency, and to be honest with us. So far, what we feel is that they've been dishonest. They've communicated with the other side. They've not given us an opportunity to speak. And then they took a vote against what they told us was absolutely they would not vote until after school was back in session. So we didn't assemble a team to go to war. We didn't assemble a team to fight, to push back at what they were saying, because quite frankly, we had sick relatives. We had people that were ill. My uncle was ill. He's 94 years old. And I was taking care of him right then and not worrying about it because I saw their official document that said, we're not going to take a vote until school is back in session. So what does that mean?
So how many people, you said are city officials, who is the one launching, who's the ones really going after doing this? Well,
there's a lot of speculation. Some people think it's the Islas who's on the school board. She came forward in the last meeting and told us basically that she has relatives that at Christmas told her that they were offended by the image. And so she thought it was a good idea to get rid of it. But if I have a relative that's offended because of a particular color of car, but it's the #1 selling car in the country, do you still get rid of that color? And that's kind of where we're at, is because, again, every poll, every study, every survey, even by the liberal Washington Post, says that 9 out of 10 or 91% of Native Americans want the images kept. So
what about the school itself? Do they have a say in it? The people that are attending this school and everybody there, like the kids and the parents, or not really?
Right. So in our lawsuit, we have asked for all that to be, given to us. And so although they did give some of it to us, we don't believe that they gave it all to us. We have not been able to find anything. So we can't find where they're communicated with the kids, how they structured communicating with the kids.
Have they said that they have, though? Is that
yes.
something that okay,
yes.
so they're saying
first they started off with a blanket statement that the students have spoken. Okay. So in our investigation, what we're kind of finding out is the Fresno High has a social justice club.
Okay.
So we found that we looked at some of the letters. The letters were for kids that are all in that same club. So we couldn't find any kids that were on the football team. We couldn't find any kids that were on the basketball team, the baseball team, cheerleaders, not a single one. So what we did find
not
was
the ones that are wearing the logos the most.
Exactly. and also not the ones that, so here's the big thing. Most of the letters came from one class at Edison High School. So we're suspecting that some liberal teacher basically had an assignment, and the assignment was to write a reason why we should get rid of the Native American image at Fresno High. And so we're letting kids at Edison High School turn in letters regarding something that involves Fresno High. In the meantime, we weren't asked to we weren't given an opportunity to let our students, our kids, write letters in. Our kids were not asked to write letters in. We can't find a single child that was asked to write a letter in. We're launching an Instagram page right now where we're actually reaching out to kids. So far, no one has responded.
And how did you become leader of this cause and this become your passion? And you're the one that's going to run everything for 2020, right? For 2022, right?
So basically, I'm a co-leader. There is no particular leader of this group. I happen to step forward because I've been on TV a little bit and stuff, and I've done some radio interviews. And so Lori Pastre is actually one of the leaders. She's 25% Cherokee. She's very offended by the way that this was handled. She feels that if it was handled professionally and properly, and we were actually given time to speak and present the facts, that this would not have happened. So there's already Cecilia Funk is actually the one that the Facebook group is her group. And so I'm just a small piece of the puzzle in this fight. And I went to Fresno High, and my Native American friends, 6 of them, are very offended at the way this was handled. Just to be very honest and upfront, they wouldn't be opposed to the image being retired, provided there was a fair discussion. Because if you look at the fair discussion across the state of California and also nationally, so let's look at Ripon Indians down in Ripon, California. Their school district was petitioned. We looked at their petition. It was identical to ours. So the same person wrote it, okay? Different petitioner, but it was written by the same group. They had some involvement with their community. They had some open hearings. And basically what they decided to do was to certify their school as a Native American cultural center. So they're certified that they're going to educate kids what really went on in Native Americans' lives when we came into America. And so these kids should know this, because I got involved 6 months ago, and what I've learned is just amazing. And I think every kid in 12th grade or 11th grade should know our history. And so instead, they want to eradicate the Native American image and just say, let's just forget about it altogether. And in fact, many people think that's reverse racism. So instead of teaching kids, educating them where we came from, what's going on, what did go on, and what needs to go on in the future, let's just get rid of the images altogether. Let's get rid of the educational programs, and let's not teach students what happened to Native Americans. And, really, actually, the whole Black Lives Movement, everything, that's what they're about, is inclusion and, diversity. And in fact, what FUSD has decided to do, by the way, 10 schools total have been petitioned in the state of California. FUSD is the only one right now in California that has voted to eradicate the image.
Wow.
Yeah. The other 9.
Their motive for doing all this, is there a financial gain on their end? What's the whole purpose when they came at you with this, and they came at, what do you think the main motive is here?
Well, they claim that it's racism. But again, every study shows that it's not racist, shows that Native Americans don't feel that it's racist, shows that Native Americans want the images left there, shows that the Native Americans think it is a sign of pride and honor and integrity. And
this is a lot of work to go through, though, to prove that point, especially by some people that are non-Native American. I mean, is there another gain that we're missing here? Do they have a financial gain? Because you said they have a team of lawyers that are trying to
Well, Fresno Unified School District has a team of lawyers. They don't have inside counsel. So whenever they, get challenged on anything, which isn't very often, by the way, then they turn it over to a team of lawyers, and they look at everything, and they try to, basically pound you back. I mean, they're a great big corporation. I think it's around $1.8 billion a year.
Right.
We're just local business people and local parents that are concerned.
Well, that's why I was wondering if there was a gain on their end for doing this. Like if this.
Well, yeah, I mean, what is cancel culture? They feel that's a gain. I mean, they feel that getting rid of anything that they view as racist is helping their cause. I mean, without
and that gets them more powerful to do more things in the future like this, to do more.
Well, sure. Yeah. I mean,
okay.
So one of the things that was said was that they're going to reimagine the entire district. Well, what does the word reimagine mean? That means
I get it. Now I'm starting to see the pattern, because I was trying to think this is a lot of steps. I felt there was a bigger motive for them.
Well, right. So, the motive is, one, for the school itself. Our alumni association has been replaced over the last few months, and that's because the original alumni association actually had Linda Latner, the president or the principal of Fresno High, was with a vote on that board. And so that board chose not to, make a stand either way, whether to retain or retire the image. So Naga, who's been in this game for about 10 or 15 years now, has told me that 85% of alumni associations definitely want to keep their mascot, keep their image, and keep their, keep everything the way it is, and then institute an educational program. And so basically what Fresno Unified did was they came in and they said, hey, you want all new floors, you want all new scoreboards, you want all new uniforms, we're going to make this happen for you. And so they're getting $500,000 of all new stuff right now at no charge to them.
So who is it? Just the school board that has a say in this? Like, where does our mayor stand? Where does everyone, do they get any say in this, or it's really just the school? It's a school board issue at this point.
So right now it's been exclusively the school board. We are starting to reach out to local politicians. Here's one of the things that we discovered. So we hired a research group. And so basically they started looking at Fresno High and its history. What they found out is that Fresno High was opened in 1889. Well, that was the 100th year of the Constitution. And so in the Constitution, the foundation of the Constitution is Iroquois law. And so what happened was, when they formed it, they rejected all the European constitutions and laws, and they went with the Iroquois law for our Constitution. And so the Iroquois actually were there when they eradicated the Constitution. They also signed the Declaration of Independence 13 years before that. They were at Constitution Hall when all this took place. So if you go to the Fresno High campus, you look at it, we have a replica of the exact building that the Iroquois were in when they stayed there and when they signed the Declaration of Independence, and then when the Constitution was ratified. So that's a big part of history. So our argument is that our forefathers picked the Iroquois because of the celebration that was going on nationally, and built the Constitution Hall on Fresno High campus because it had a tie-in to the Iroquois. Fresno High's team colors are the Iroquois colors, exact colors.
Oh.
And so there's this is what we actually have a letter I can send to you from the Iroquois Nation saying that they think we have a national treasure on our hands. They believe Fresno High was molded after the Iroquois Nation. They believe it was set up by our forefathers to be called the Warriors and to use the Iroquois. If you're not aware of Fresno High, we've been the Iroquois ever since the start of the school. And so there's the Iroquois Club there. So if you play sports, you're an athlete there, you belong to the Iroquois Club. And so this was all put into motion, not by accident, but by the Fresno forefathers basically looking at this and saying, hey, we need to partner with the Iroquois in the celebration and do this. That was going to be the very first school in Fresno. They wanted to build something that would be the porch light to the community for years to come, and that's what they did. And now we're trying to eradicate that over one person coming forward and saying he was offended. But you got to know that this person is also right now he's trying to get rid of the police at the high schools and other things. And so he's basically a political activist in our eyes. Mm-hmm. And I think that basically FUSD was a sympathetic ear for him. After all, they met with him and didn't meet with us.
Jim, what can we do as a community? Give it a try? Can I write a letter? Like what can we even do?
Well, we've been writing letters. We've written about 200 letters to the school board. That's 200 different people wrote letters. And so basically right now we've got our lawsuit. We have a court date July 14th. And the public just needs to be aware that if they went to high school or middle school here in the Valley, at FUSD school, they're going to come after your school. They're going to try to reimagine it. And one of the most important things was that Valerie Davis last week when they voted to fund the $456,000, what she told us, which is crazy, is that we understand you don't want your warrior removed, which is not the case. We don't want history erased. Okay. Then she said, you no longer go to Fresno High. The students go to Fresno High. That's no longer your school. So move on. Now, what university doesn't reach out to their alumni? What school? I mean, this is really nationally, this is going around to all the groups that are looking at this. And they said that is one of the most outrageous statements that they've ever heard. Every school in every country, in every city, county, state goes after their alumni. You want your alumni to feel like they're part of that school.
Right.
That's how out of touch Valerie Davis is. We have a board president, trustee, that is so out of touch with the educational system that she doesn't even understand what the national census is on alumni. And so I just don't understand how people in Fresno would not want to. Basically, we're going to start a recall, and we're gathering signatures and things that we need to do now to start the petition. And when that recall person knocks on your door, just please keep in mind what I've said today and sign the recall.
A recall on this passing, not on anybody.
No. We're going to recall the school board members.
Okay.
Yeah. And so we are this is kind of breaking news to you right now, but it is in the works. And it's been talked about, but we are moving forward with it, and it is going to happen. And so some of the people, the districts, we need about 550 signatures to recall them. And so that's a pretty low number. This school board really believes they can't be recalled because here's the deal. In the last 25 years, no one has been voted out of office on the FUSD school board. So they think that even if we perform a recall, they'll just get reelected. They're in real tight with the unions. And so basically, but I think there's going to be enough outrage over critical race theory, the way that they handle COVID. It's not just the warrior issue.
What are some issues? That's what I would want to know. What else is going on? Because I think I'm a little out of touch. I did interview people that were running for the school board, none of which were elected.
Right. So I was a little out of touch too, quite frankly. What's happened is that we've been kind of falling asleep here while a certain group has moved in on us, and they're going to, a friend of mine pointed out something that I never really thought of, but if you could make Fresno just like San Francisco, and they can put a bullet train in running from here to there, why wouldn't all liberals move here? And so, it costs a third as much to live. It's easier. You can have a better life here other than the heat. And so basically, think about it. And so ultimately, this has been the last 30, 40 years. It's been a slow process of turning this whole state to one direction. And it's a direction that many parents, many, people in the community are going to push back on.
So what about COVID? How did the board miss the boat on this and how they handled COVID?
Well, from what I understand, they made a lot of side deals. They kept the schools closed longer than they have. Kids at Clovis Unified have been going to school for months. And so other kids around California have been going for months. And in some states, they never stopped going. And
right.
There's no big outbreaks there or anything. So it's really just the overall handling, the incompetence. I can tell you one story that I heard, at Fresno High, there was a $1 million spent on air conditioning units, not because the air conditioning units were bad, but because the roof had deteriorated because the trustee for that district apparently had failed to have it inspected once a year. And so had it been inspected, they would have made minor repairs here and there and not had to spend a whole $1 million. And so it's basically just incompetence overall.
Did they get more funding for being closed longer, or we don't know that?
Well, as you know, I'm not an expert at this, but every teacher that I know, and I know a lot of them, they were still taking a check home, even though they weren't in school teaching.
Right.
And, this is not a knock on the teachers because the teachers are underpaid and they do a great job.
Right.
The teachers do a great job. Unfortunately, the board of trustees are not doing a great job.
Do the teachers have any say in this, by the way? What are the teachers saying that you've talked about this with?
The teachers in Fresno belong to a union. So the union speaks on behalf of the teachers. The teachers I know, they don't want the warrior retired. Most of them wanted to get back in class as soon as possible. And so, I'm sure there's teachers that feel differently.
Right.
So that's just a matter of opinion and probably how you were raised or, what your thought process is.
Wow. Well, I wish you the best on this venture. I don't know how this seems like you have a lot on your shoulders right now, like a lot on your plate. But yeah, if you want to come back and talk to us about what we could do, because you have like a year of this, right?
Well, yeah, usually this battle. As soon as I started speaking with NAGA, which is Native American Guardians Association, they're out of Illinois and they do this fight every day. And so basically they said, be ready for this to be a 2 to 3 year fight. Be ready to have to recall board members. You're probably going to have to get involved in picking new candidates and helping fund that. And so, many of these candidates, they ran unopposed because, again, we've been asleep. We didn't realize that, like right now, if you have a student at Fresno High and they just attend school every day, from what I've been told, and I was told this by a trustee, no less, that if they just attend class every day, they will get at least a D. So there is no failing if you're in school. Now, if you happen to fail a class because you didn't attend it enough and you want to make it up, you can do credit recovery, where you just basically go on to a computer and you can sit there and push any key for 3 hours a day for 2 weeks and pass that class. You don't have to get the answers right. You don't even have to answer the answers. All you have to do is keep pushing the key so they know you're there. Now, if that's true, because I've been told this by people that I trust, we need to fix that in Fresno. We can't have kids graduating from high school with a 7th grade education. Did you know that Fresno High is in the rural school districts is number 2, second to the last, just ahead of Detroit right now, and tied with Cincinnati? You remember, I think you're probably from Fresno. Do you remember when our school district was a proud school district, a great school district, and if you graduated from an FUSD school, you had an education?
Right.
That's not true anymore. So what happens is big companies don't want to come here because there's not a good pool of candidates to hire from. So ultimately, we just stay the bottom feeder of California. We never evolve. So we have to get 12% of the signatures for the county. Like I said, some are around 500 signatures is all we need. And we've already got people ready to go out in those areas. And then some are up to about 1,600 signatures. So, we have.
Is there a website we can go to do that or no? We're
setting all that up right now. This is all. So we basically teamed with a recall team. And so again, I pretty well know the Fresno High Warrior fight because I've been in it from the beginning. I've just entered this week because we didn't think we were going to do a recall until last Wednesday. And when they said, the alumni this is no longer your school, which goes against everything in history. And so we realized how out of touch this board is. But that's what got our group going.
Where should we follow the progress on this? Is there a site yet, or is there a Facebook group?
Yes, Supporters for Retaining the Fresno High Warrior Image, and that's on Facebook. There's about 725 of us on there right now. Initially, there was about 600 that just went to Fresno High. We picked up about 125 people out in the community. We're thinking about renaming that group something along the lines of Save Our Schools. We did file for a corporation, a 501c nonprofit under Save Our Schools of Fresno. So that's getting pushed through right now. And so this is evolving. 6 months ago, I was just like you. I didn't know we had a school district that was doing these things. I had no idea that they were promoting only certain people that fit in certain categories. I had no idea.
Right.
And so now I've been to 5 board meetings. I've called and invited friends to attend a board meeting just to see. Not a one of them hasn't joined our group and isn't donating and isn't getting involved, writing letters, participating in the recall event. Every one of them, and I would say there's probably at least 100 of them that were extremely offended at the way that they were treated, the way they saw other parties being treated, and the way that this school board feels they are above us. They're academia, they're super smart people, and they're going to show us whether we like it or not.
Well, thank you so much for letting us know what's going on, Jim. I really appreciate that. And Chris Stetsko told me to interview you, and you're great. It's great to always hear these different perspectives on what's been going on. Right after COVID, we have a lot to deal with.
Yeah, well, the crazy thing is they did it during COVID. This would have never gone through had they not done it during COVID. We couldn't assemble a team.
That makes sense. Yeah.
I'll tell you one just real quick thing. We reached out to over 75 local attorney firms. None of them would take our case. So just keep in mind that FUSD is arguing that we waited too long to hire an attorney and notify them that they broke the Brown Act violations. We didn't know they broke them until we hired an attorney. So we reached out. Over 75 attorneys told us they would look at the case. Then they told us they couldn't take the case because they were on retainer from FUSD or they had represented them in the past. So what's that tell you about FUSD's plan to keep people from suing them? So our attorney is out of San Francisco. Unfortunately, it did take us a little bit of time to find him, and he's going to argue that during a national pandemic where the governor has given a 180-day extension to that very school district, it seems like 180 days extension to the school district should also fall on Brown Act violations, shouldn't it?
Right. That makes sense.
I argue that, and precedence is going to be set, is what we're thinking.
Thank you so much, Jim. I really appreciate you coming on today.
All right. We'll see you soon. Thanks.
Welcome to Everything Sparkle. With us is author Kitty Berry. I'm so excited to finally have you.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Okay, so tell us all the things you have going on, because that's a lot. I was looking at your page and just all the stuff you've done. And how long have you been writing?
So lots of things. I started in like 2013 when that whole like 50 Shades of Grey push had kind of brought everyone into the self-publishing world. And I literally right now am doing edits and rewriting that book because as I guess it's like sort of, I don't know, it's not just growing as an author. I have this whole world. I write like it's a soap opera. And so Kindle Vella is coming out. And as I'm doing some other things with those characters, I kind of botch up some things. So I need to go back and fix a few things. So I'm doing Kindle Vella right now, which is going to be quick little like little episodes. So they're between 500 or 600 and 5,000 words or something like that.
So what does that mean, Kittabella? I haven't heard. So what do you mean, Kittabella?
It's new. It's called Kindle Vella. It's going to be through Amazon, and readers can purchase tokens. So you get to read the first 3 episodes for free, and then after that, you have to purchase tokens to read the rest. And the tokens, the amount is done by how many words those episodes are. Okay. And so I'm trying to do like backstory on a lot of my other characters. So when I started it with the first, the characters from my first book. So then I kind of botched some stuff up. So now I'm in there on that first book and I'm doing some of those edits and changing some things and making sure it all, goes smooth. So I started writing in 2013, and then in 2019 was the first Romanticon. Which is the event that'll happen in July in Connecticut.
How exciting.
So exciting. And it should be the 3rd year, but how annoying that it's the 2nd year because of COVID. So, we lost a year. But, And so with that event, lots of events like to do anthologies. So I did one, but I did it as like a hybrid. So instead of it being a big anthology, like one book and all authors adding to that book, we all published our own. So coincidentally today, which had nothing to do with you inviting me here for today, just worked out well. The last book in that collection, which happens to be one of mine, it released today. So,
oh my gosh, but you didn't know that was going to happen?
No, I didn't.
How does that work?
I don't know, just by the luck of the draw. Do you want to see it?
Yeah. So it's Forever to Go?
It's Forever to Go, and it's the Falls Village collection. So the commonality that all the authors had to write in was the town. So it's a small town in Maine. And so
I love that.
Yeah, it was fun. They all took different characters. It was hard to do a timeline. We had to work together to make sure it all was cohesive, though.
So is that a collaborative effort, or it was all separate efforts and you guys did it with the same guidelines?
So we did it separately. So everyone has their own book. I didn't want to get into everyone else's royalties and everyone else's rights to the book. So I just let everyone kind of do their own book. But everyone had to be a signing author at the event. They had to write in the town, and then I approved everyone's, like, not approved to be like, it was
The
good
book had to
quality.
be in that town, right?
I'm sorry?
The book had to be based in the town. You didn't have to write in the town, right?
Yeah.
Well, that would have been kind of cool, actually. I mean, that was.
I know. I want to live there. I want to go there.
Right.
So yeah, I just had to like make sure everyone like stayed within the feel of the town, and like it was all, kind of worked out. And so I've been doing that for a while now, because we wanted it going on for the event that was supposed to happen last year, and it didn't. So then we kind of extended it. So we ended up with 14 books, because this has been, we had an extra.
Well, now the quality better be amazing that you had the extra time.
Now, right. Yeah. So now there's the 14, and then we're done. This is it. This one released today, and that's the end of the collection. But I like my characters to carry over. Like I was saying, like it's a soap opera. So some characters from this book have something to do with my next, what might be a duet, but we'll see. I have a hard time.
You know how to set that up, don't you, Kitty?
Yeah, that's my thing.
Okay, has it always been romance novels for you? What else is like always since like, who was your inspiration initially?
So, I liked chick lit too. That wasn't just romance. It was, strict chick lit. There was some like romance stuff in it. There was some, like sexy books, some were, some weren't. So when I kind of started with that, it was Anita Shreve, Kristen Hanna, I was big with. And so then it kind of started, I don't know, going more to that romance. And then, Erica came out with 50 Shades of Grey, E.L. James, and I just, I loved it. I know people have their own, critique on it. I'm currently reading the third book of Christian's Perspective, Freed, and I'm slow with it right now, but I'm kind of stressed out with everything else I have going on. So I'm not focusing well, but that was definitely where the whole like romance end of it.
Really? So it was 50 Shades of Grey that kind of was like, okay, I can dig this romance thing.
Yeah. Now that's all I read. I do read Kate White. She writes some mystery, and there's always some relationship stuff in hers for them, kind of. Yeah, really just romance for me right now.
So do people kind of dive into your life? Like, oh, what's your romantic life? Are you like an expert now because you write romance novels? Do people do that? Yeah, I'm sorry, that's a weird question.
No, yeah, all the time. So, yeah, I mean, I've been with my husband since like 95. Like it's been forever.
Oh, wow.
We have 3 grown kids. They're 18, 20, and 22.
You look so young. I had no idea.
No, I'm 48.
Oh my! So
the filters, the camera.
You've had a 25-year romance.
I know.
What do you think about your books? Are they too steamy? Does he read them? Or are they too steamy?
No, he has well, I shouldn't say he hasn't read. I've given him some snippets of things to read, but he's never read everything.
Really? I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, he doesn't like the whole romance thing. Like he's a history teacher, and he's a basketball coach.
Novels. I just think he'd read your stuff.
No, yeah, he doesn't. And I don't really know that I want his opinion.
Well, after it comes out, be like, hey, look at what I.
Yeah. But I did do something else. It was just really cool. I just got it yesterday. I'm turning some of my books into audiobooks.
Oh, God. Everyone's all about that.
That's the coolest thing, though, as an author, to hear it read. I listened to the first 6 chapters last night, and I've got a lot more to go, but I just am like, I don't know. It's just a whole crazy feeling.
That's got to be fun. Well, see, that now your husband doesn't have an excuse. Tell him to listen to your.
Now he can listen. Exactly. I know. And everyone thinks like Friends or whatever, they're always like, am I going to be in that book? Like they're afraid if they do something, and I'll do that to them too, because they think they're going to be in it. So if they do something crazy, I'll just give them a look like, I mean, that was perfect, right? Like you think that's not going in a book?
That's fun. So you base some characters off your husband then?
There's components of everybody in my life, that there's things, but it's not like any one character is any
Yeah,
one
you
person.
totally. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So like my first character of the book, I'm like, kind of reworking a little bit now. Her best friend has some characteristics that was my best friend forever growing up, but it's not my best friend growing up. It's just, there's some characteristics of her in that one character, and then there's, people you meet along the way, and there's, I don't know, you just kind of pick up on things.
And there's a little bit of you in a character in each book, right?
Pretty much. Yeah. Yeah. Either things I've done, things I've wanted to do, things that have happened, like little experiences, things. And I do try to give like some nods to people in the books and people who know everything about my private life, if they read it, would kind of figure some of those things out, but I don't know. No one else, I don't think, would. But
are you usually like the antagonist in your, like the protagonist in your books, or like not necessarily, just different characters?
Not necessarily. Yeah. Yeah. And it's
usually that'd be cool if you make yourself the antagonist. Actually, I would love that perspective.
And there's times, that things happen and I'm like, oh my gosh, my life should be. But I mean, look at Phoebe Easton. She's got, I think it's Sex Life or Sex Love. I forget what the exact title, that's coming out on Netflix. It's her 44 chapters about 44 men, and it was a memoir. She wrote about her life, and it just went crazy. And then it ended up getting picked up with Netflix. I think it releases in like 3 days. Wow. It was, and it was so good. And when I read it, it's funny and it's whatever. And it's about her and like her antics. And I read it and I'm like, oh my God, did we know each other? Because there's things in there that you're writing that I literally did. And I feel like I could be that character. And I'm like so scared now that like we went to college together and I don't remember you.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So how many books do you have published at this point?
Wow, so a lot. Do you love this allergy thing I have going on? Every time I cough, I'm like, people are going to think I have COVID. So
you're over there. You can have all the time you want, girl.
Right, we're fine through the screen. So I have, oh my gosh, I don't even know the exact number, maybe 21, 24. So the Stone series is 10 book and then a holiday, so 11. Then there's the Anatomy of Love trilogy, so that's 14. And then that has Vines of Ivy kind of goes with that, so that's 15. And then 16, 17, and 18 is the Compatible Companion trilogy. And then 19, 21, and 23 takes me through Falls Village. So this is book 23.
I love that. Oh my God. And then who's your publisher? Do you have the same publisher the whole way through?
No, me.
The whole time, all 23?
Yeah, all me. Yeah, I go back and forth with that, as do all of us. There's definitely benefits of doing it on your own. At the end of the day, everything comes back to me. It's all mine. No one else, whatever. But it could be a little alone, kind of lonely at times, and you don't have other people sort of backing you and sort of that sounding board. So you really got to get some good people with you. So I have some good betas that do all my books, or at least now they do all my books, not maybe at the beginning. I've used the same editor now for the whole Falls Village collection. And that's definitely been a game changer too. And then now with this audio world going on, I'll have the same narrator for all 3 Compatible Companion books. And then the Falls Village ones they're different, but everyone's working together, and I like talking, and we're doing emails, and we're comparing the characters, and like.
Have you ever thought about doing your own voice for? You have a good voice. You have a good strong voice.
Yeah, I have, and someone along the way, many years ago when I first started, it was back when. When we all first started doing this romance thing in 2013, and plus I had younger kids, like now they're older and I'm like, I don't really care. But when we had younger kids, it was almost like for me, I didn't have my face. I wasn't like out there like, ooh, look what I'm doing. Right. And the content. And so it was Chris Genovese, and he did it where you can it was like Authors After Dark or something. And you can go on and read, but you were dark. So no one saw you and you read. And I got a lot of comments about my voice and my reading.
Yeah, I think you're perfect.
Well, the funny story about why, though, I do, and this is just speaking, but with reading, funny story is because in my other life, I work in education. I have for 25 years. And I don't currently teach any longer, but I taught preschool. And so when I do the reading, I'm very animated and I can do like character voices and I can do like all that because I did it for young children, hold their attention. The reading's a little different now when I do, this, but I have thought of it and I may seriously think of it for the work in progress that I have, but we'll see.
Wow.
Yeah, I like that character. So that might be the one I do.
Is that still happening?
So I taught preschool, special education, I think like 24 school years, and now I just do evaluations. So
That's
I just
a lot of work.
Yeah. That's why Romanticon happens in July. My last day of school was Friday. And so I kind of work a little bit in the summer, but like maybe like 15 hours during the month of July. Like that's pretty much about it. So literally since I finished up on Friday, all I've been doing is Romanticon stuff. It's been crazy.
So have you met a lot of your heroes, like a lot of the romance writers? Are you like known in that world? Or you met? Do you like know Nora Roberts or?
No. So my favorite, and so big fangirl moment. Authors in the City was an event that they no longer do it, but it was held in New York, and I went to meet Shayla Black. So Shayla Black writes romance, really steamy. She also writes under Shelley Bradley. So she kind of started writing under Shelley Bradley. I do not tend to read historical romance, but she's written some and I've read them. I have read every word, maybe not every word she's written right now because I'm probably behind on her like newest release because I'm crazy with everything I have going on. But the minute her book comes out, she's one of those like unicorn authors to me. I don't read the blurb. I don't read like, oh, it's a pre-order. What's it about? I just one click. That's it.
Right.
So I went to meet her. So I have met her and I was crazy. I've met Eric. I've met E.L. James.
How was that? What was she like?
She was real sweet. She actually does know my editor, and I was with my editor at the event, so that was pretty cool.
Did you give her a book?
So no, not mine. No, I know.
Come on.
I was with some Romanticon authors for the 19 event. It was, I guess it happened right before the 2019 event. And they were like, we should be handing out your cards, and they're handing out romantic cards. I'm like, you are going to get us thrown out of the E.L. James signing. Do you understand how bad that is? So I did not give her my book. Some people were, I have to say, some people were. I did not. She signed the Mister. That was what she was promoting at the time. So that meeting her was definitely cool. But then like there, I'm trying to think some of the bigger ones like Megan Quinn, B.B. Easton, Penelope Ward, Vi Kinlan, like all of them, come to a lot of the events that I do attend. So it's exciting and it's a fangirl moment, definitely, whether I'm an author or not. Like I'm not, I'll never feel that level.
So being like self-published, who gets you out on book tours? You book that yourself? Are you booking them? How does that work? How are people getting to know you and your books?
So I have to say, like, the marketing is the hardest part of it for me. And I don't have the time as part of the
Right.
deal with that because I can't write. I can't do Romanticon and I can't do all this marketing and market myself in Romanticon all at the same time. So it's like crazy. So it's kind of like pick and choose. So definitely my weak point is that. And there are different companies and little small business things that you can find people are doing where you can do that. You can book those tours. I have to say though, social media lately, Facebook blocks a lot of stuff, so it's challenging. And then we do takeovers and we do hops. So we're doing a hop for Romanticon, books, and Tempted and Tantalizing. So there are 3 events that happen. Mine's in Connecticut, books is Pennsylvania, and then TNT is Staten Island. And so myself and the other 2 hosts, we share a lot of the same authors that are signing at the event. We share a lot of the same readers that come to the events. So we're doing this hop through Facebook starting on Thursday and running through, I think, Sunday or whatever. And, readers can go to the pages, they can win on each other's page, and then maybe win a grand prize. We'll see how much traffic that gets, because things are going to get blocked and they're not going to see it, and they're not going to, so that's been hard. My new thing is TikTok, which is, that's been interesting.
Nice. You're more relevant than I am, Kitty.
I'm trying on there. I'm trying. Instagram, I'm trying again on, a little bit on there. Not as, not as great on there as I am. Like Facebook is really my go-to, which again, I had up that game. Twitter, I don't know what I'm doing. It's so overwhelming, and I don't like Twitter. My kids love it. So I probably should be more into that with the younger age group. But so yeah, it is hard. I kind of not been doing as many of those takeovers on social media, because they don't really, not much comes of them. So.
Right. Well, that's cool. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting, the process, and for you to like communicate that to us. I think a lot of writers are wondering what to do now, and self-publishing became big in like the 2000s, right? Because I used to go to a lot of the writers groups in the 90s, and that was like before that was even like a thing, and now everyone's doing self-publishing. So do you feel like you were put out there enough to where it works?
No. Not at all.
Tell us the different thing. Have you thought about going to a big publisher, or?
I have. So back when I had no idea what I was doing, we all came out right at the same time. Like, again, the E.L. James thing hit. And when she hit, everybody was like, oh, we can all do this. No, we all cannot.
Right.
She just did it she wasn't the first one to write what she wrote. I mean, she really wasn't. She just, Christian and Anastasia just hit people. And she just, I don't know. Some of it was the luck of the draw, maybe, right? Her husband also worked in publishing. Like she had other connections. But all of us that started that self-publishing around that time just were like, I think haphazardly almost sending out to some of those publishing houses. I've thought about doing like the agent route, but then I'm almost like, I don't know, like what is an agent going to do that I'm not doing? But then, maybe there are some connections. I don't know. It's one of those other things too, that like to focus on it, I need to stop doing something else and focus. And so at some point, and I say this to myself a lot, like I'm going to finish this book and then I'm going to focus on that. I'm not going to write where I would be writing. I'm going to focus on getting that agent or doing that publishing house or doing whatever. And then it doesn't happen because my brain continues.
You're on the next story.
Yeah.
Have you thought about writing historical fiction? Maybe your husband will read that since he's a history teacher.
No, he tells me all the time because, again, and he coaches basketball, and I always hear about the basketball thing. So there is a basketball player in one of my Falls Village collection.
Aww.
It's nothing like him at all, but I did throw basketball in there. I think, did he name one of the books? He either named one or he gave me an idea or something at one point. So that's his like claim to fame with my author world.
What about your kids? Are they reading your stuff? Can they, or do you not want them?
No. First of all, they're all boys. No.
Oh, you locked it.
No. So the oldest is home just got graduated from college. He's home doing grad school. And he's in my office. His bedroom is now my office in my finished basement. And I hung a curtain rod and curtains to cover all my bookshelves.
Oh.
Yeah. I took out my cabinet that had all my personal books displayed. No. Mm-hmm.
So this is like your other world, being the
they know, and they know my Kitty Berry is the pen name. It's my mom's maiden name and her nickname. And they know, and they can look it up, and I'm sure maybe they have, but I don't know that they want to.
What are your friends that you like grew up with and stuff? Are people like realizing that this is a pen name? Do they know that it's you?
Yeah.
They know. Everybody knows?
Yeah. So tight-knit group of girls that I grew up with from like the age of, so one of my friends, I met her when I was like 3. We did dancing school and all that kind of stuff together. And then all through high school, college. And then two of my other friends by the age of 9, like we were friends. So one of them, I've been friends with since I was 9. So we're going on almost 40 years of knowing each other, is helping at Romanticon this year. She's been at events with me. She's been like my assistant at the table. The person who does all my registration stuff at Romanticon and helps me do a bunch of stuff, like we're doing lunch on Thursday, whatever. We cheered together in college, so I've known her since college. And some of the other, they know that I write, they know what I do. Whenever I do put someone that has a characteristic of them, I will send them a quick text and be like, well, how that time we were, and it's made it look.
That's funny. Have you thought about making these into like a Lifetime movie or a Hallmark movie or some of that? Well,
yeah,
you're tuning it down a little bit.
I think Passion Flicks should definitely contact me and make these into, I think the Falls Village collection would be perfect for like a little series like that. But trying to get like your foot in the door for something like that's craziness. Like I said, BB Easton, she's still reeling. Like when you hear her talk about this, that it's coming out, she's still reeling over it. So I guess none of us really expect it to happen, but few and far between that it will. But that Passion Flicks, they turn some romance novels into, little movies. So fingers crossed, maybe someone at some point will. I don't know.
So right now we can get your books on everything, right? You said
Amazon. No, I'm exclusive to Amazon, which is another thing I consider.
That's a good thing to be exclusive to. You have to be exclusive to one of them.
Yeah, so that's the thing. You either be exclusive to Amazon or you go wide. And if you go wide, then you can't be in Kindle Unlimited. And Kindle Unlimited is what readers like because they pay their monthly fee and then they can read all these books and then you're getting your royalties every time they swipe a page.
That's really interesting. What a bunch of choices. So you can't really be everywhere or just as a self-publish?
No, anyone. It doesn't matter how you're published. If you want to be in Kindle Unlimited, that book can be nowhere else.
Except Amazon.
Yep. You could be on Amazon and everywhere else, but not in their Kindle Unlimited.
Wow, that is crazy.
Yeah.
You do something new every day, learn something new. Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Amazon they have their hands on our
Oh
they
my.
have us. They have us. And Vella, this Kindle Vella that I was talking about when we first came on, that's new. They have that pretty under wraps as well because
they're working with Kindle Unlimited, right?
Yeah, and well, if you want to be in Kindle Vella, that material that you're putting in there can be nowhere else. And I get it because you can't be charging people like that's part of your book, but then it's in something else. So they're pretty tight on that. But
well, that's awesome. Especially, I love the idea that you have some idyllic settings, and that's actually how I got into Nora Roberts. And I'm not, I was getting into it, like you said, I was a late bloomer getting into these kind of books. But I love Nora Roberts because I get the sense of imagery, and it's like, I feel like I'm right there. So I totally want to read this new one. Because then I'll be like in Maine, and that'll be awesome.
It is. It's a nice little town. I love it. Like I said, I want to go there. I want it to be real. It's actually it's a name of a town that's in Connecticut, Falls Village, or it's I don't know if it's a town or if it was like the condo complex. Again, this is how I get things from people. So it's my not really a cousin, but she's like my cousin. So it's my aunt's cousin's daughter, and she lived in it was either her condo complex or her town. It was Falls Village, and we would go to the beach all summer long together. And I don't know, she just kept saying Falls Village, and it would come up, and I was like, oh my god, I love that name, and here it is.
I do too. So can you have a website too? Can we get the books from your website as well, or not really?
From my website you can get to Amazon, but I don't. The only time that I sell them myself is when I'm at the events.
So how do I get an autograph copy from you?
So, well, you can send me your information. I'll send you one. You send me your information, you tell me what you want. But everyone, if they're looking to get them, really the only way at this point to get anything signed and done for me is to go to one of the events that I'm at. So if you go on my website, it's kittyberryauthor.com. And that first page will always give you the list of where I'm going to be. So
You ever come to the
July
West
21st.
Coast?
What?
You ever come to the West Coast?
Not yet, but that idea is in my head as well. Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on my show, Kitty.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. It was so cool. I love this.
Felt right in the moment, felt right in the summertime. It felt right drinking cherry wine with you. Just wanted to own it, just wanted to take the time, learn all the things that I could about you. Now it's such a mess here, oh, we are just stressed here. Used to be so easy with you. Now I must confess here, oh, I must confess, dear, don't think I'm in love with you. Winter is coming and I don't know what to do, and there's no more use in running, no more running to you. And I don't want your loving, I don't want to be just friends, knowing all this time we were playing pretend.
It's a mystery.